the opportunity of multi-state compliance. My name is Kevin Miner. I'm an account executive here at Harbor Compliance, and I'll be guiding you through today's session. Before we dive in, a few quick housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive a copy afterwards. Today's presentation is also eligible for continuing education credit through Earmark. I'll go over how to get your CE credit at the end of the presentation, and we'll be together for approximately 45 minutes today, and we'll have also a few minutes for question and answers at the end of the webinar. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Harbor Compliance is a nationwide provider of registered agent, business registration, licensing services, and software. We also provide extensive nonprofit formation and fundraising compliance solutions to nonprofit organizations through Labyrinth, our nonprofit brand. Why compliance matters? So compliance isn't just a box to check, it's a fundamental requirement. Organizations must follow state and federal regulations to operate. The real challenge is deciding how to meet these requirements in a cost-effective way. Here is what we will be covering today. One second here. First, we'll discuss what it takes to form a new business and the necessary steps to take as your business grows. Next, we'll discuss the ongoing requirements to keep your business in good standing. And finally, we'll share why outsourcing compliance can free up resources and support growth. So let's dig into the key steps when forming a new entity. When forming a new business, one of the first steps is choosing the right entity type. An LLC or limited liability company is very popular with small businesses because it offers liability protection with a simple structure and pass-through taxation. A C corporation is the classic choice for companies planning to raise significant outside investment or even go public, though it does involve corporate taxation. An S corp provides a pass-through taxation and avoids double taxation, but it comes with some restrictions, such as a cap on the number of shareholders and ownership limited to U.S. individuals. For organizations serving the public good, a nonprofit corporation is often the right fit. These entities can apply for tax-exempt status with the IRS. And finally, professional entities like professional corporations or PCs or professional limited liability companies, PLLCs, are reserved for licensed professionals such as attorneys, doctors, and architects, offering liability protection while meeting state licensing rules. Keep in mind, this is general information only. Each type of entity comes with unique legal and tax considerations, so it's important to consult with qualified advisors before making a decision. When choosing where to form a new entity, when choosing where to form a new entity, there are several options to consider. For example, Delaware is popular with startups because of its investor-friendly corporate law and specialized court of chancery. Nevada stands out for its lack of corporate income tax and strong privacy protections, while Texas offers a large and growing economy with a strong workforce, making it attractive for companies planning to hire locally. Finally, for many business owners, forming in their home state is often the most practical choice since it avoids additional costs of foreign qualification and directly matches where the business is already operating. These examples that follow are for general education purposes only. Each business has unique needs, so it's important to consult with qualified legal or tax professionals before making a decision. Every business entity is required to maintain a registered agent in the state where it is formed and in any state where it is qualified to do business. The registered agent's job is to receive official documents such as lawsuits and state notices. You can technically appoint yourself or an employee as a registered agent, but that comes with certain risks. The agent must be available at the listed address during all business hours. Missing a delivery could result in penalties or even default judgments. There are also privacy considerations. The registered agent's address is public record, so many owners prefer to use a service provider rather than their home or office address. Using a commercial registered agent service ensures reliability and continuity. Finally, if you're planning to operate in multiple states, a commercial registered agent service like Harbor Compliance can simplify operations by providing consistent coverage across all 50 states. This saves time, reduces complexity, and ensures you'll never miss a critical document. So, Section 2, growth and expansion. As your business grows, you may need to operate in multiple states. Foreign qualification is required when you're considered to be doing business in another state. This often includes having an office, employees, or entering into contracts in that jurisdiction. One of the biggest surprises for new business owners is how much complexity varies from state to state. Filing timelines, for example, can range from just a few days in Delaware to several weeks or even months in states like New York or California. This affects how soon your company can officially operate. Filing fees also differ wildly. Some states charge less than $100, while other states charge several hundred, which adds up quickly if you're forming in a new state. Beyond the basics, some states have additional requirements. For instance, a few require general business licenses, initial reports, or even the publication of formation documents in a local newspaper. Tax requirements also vary. Texas has a franchise tax, while Nevada doesn't levy a corporate income tax at all. Finally, don't forget that simply having employees in another state can trigger additional filings, such as registering with the Secretary of State and setting up payroll tax accounts. Doing business across state lines can also trigger not only foreign qualification, but sales tax registrations. This is why businesses expanding across state lines need to plan ahead and anticipate these differences. South Dakota versus Wayfair Inc. was a game changer for state tax obligations. While it may not have received as much attention as it would have under normal circumstances, given its timing shortly before the COVID-19 pandemic, its impact has been profound in terms of the states that require sales tax. That said, ignorance of this decision isn't a defense, and the enforcement is real. Businesses now face obligations in states where they may have no physical presence, requiring proactive attention to avoid penalties. So let's do a quick check. How would you describe your sales tax registration status? Are you fully registered everywhere you need to be? Still figuring things out? Not sure where to start? Drop your answer in the chat. We'd love to hear where you're at. We'll give everybody a few seconds to answer in the chat. Perfect. So now moving on. So let's talk about the impact of remote work on regulatory requirements. As many organizations shift to long term or permanent remote work arrangements, their regulatory footprint is expanding. While some companies are returning to in person operations, remote work is here to stay for many. This means businesses must now register to operate in additional states where their employees are located, manage tax obligations, and ensure that they have the right licenses in place. Just like in your home state, your business now has ongoing obligations in every additional state where it's operating. These include maintaining a registered agent, filing annual reports, paying franchise taxes, and renewing business licenses. For registered agent requirements, every state where you do business requires that you designate a current registered agent to receive legal notices and service of process. If the agent's information changes, that must be updated with the state. Using a single service provider like Harbor Compliance can greatly simplify this process by consolidating all of your registered agent needs into one annual invoice. Then there's the annual report. Nearly every state requires entities to file some form of annual or periodic report. Because deadlines and filing schedules vary by state, some are annual, some biennial, and even some as long as multiple years. Multi state businesses must stay on top of filing throughout the year. Many states also impose a franchise tax or to maintain corporate good standing. States like California, New York, and Texas are well known for these requirements. These filings are separate from income tax and must be tracked and paid on time. On top of that, most business licenses must be renewed to remain valid. These renewals also can be annual, biennial, or follow another timeline altogether. Regardless of the schedule, organizations need a reliable system to track deadlines and ensure updates are filed on time. Managing all of this across multiple states isn't a one time task, it's ongoing and it is dynamic. Requirements change often statuses, forms, agency websites, and even which agencies handle which tasks. If your organization handles its own state registrations, chances are you'll eventually run into one of these changes, resulting in rejected filings, lost time, and added administrative work. That's why outsourcing these tasks to a trusted provider to stay on top of regulatory changes can be a smart and very efficient solution. And finally, don't forget your organization is evolving too. Internal changes often trigger registration updates, whether you're creating a new entity, undergoing a merger, rebranding, appointing new leadership, or expanding into a new state. Each change requires updates across Secretary of State records, tax departments, and licensing agencies. That's why it's so important to have a process or partner in place to handle multi state regulatory requirements as your organization grows and changes. Now I have a poll question that we will go ahead and launch. There we go. And the question is, how many of you have direct experience with this type of out of state registration? Okay, so we'll let everybody get their answers in here. It's like it's pretty even between the need to register in a new state in the next 6 months, and we've registered out of state in the past, but our footprint isn't likely to change again soon. Okay, great. Appreciate everybody for participating in that poll. It looks like majority, a plurality, are going to need to register in a new state within the next 6 months. So moving on, let's take a look at a routine process for a multi-state business. Hiring a new, hiring an employee in a new jurisdiction for the first time. Hiring a new employee might sound straightforward, but ensuring they can be paid requires opening payroll tax accounts in their jurisdiction. This process often lands on HR, but it's really a tax compliance task. HR teams find themselves in the middle, coordinating with payroll providers, accounting and finance, and sometimes external CPA or accounting firms. Relying on a compliance partner like Harbor Compliance with experience opening payroll tax accounts in every state can make this process far smoother. First-hand knowledge of the process allows them to navigate jurisdiction-specific requirements, minimize delays, and significantly reduce the risk of costly mistakes. The right partner will handle the heavy lifting, so all your team needs to do is provide the new account numbers to your payroll provider. With a proactive compliance management approach, you can eliminate confusion, streamline this process, and reduce friction to keep your hiring process moving smoothly. We're going to do another quick question. Feel free to leave yes or no in the chat. And the question is, have you set up payroll in a new jurisdiction for the first time within the past 12 months? Give it a few minutes here. See some yeses coming through, some nos coming through, pretty even mix. Great. Thank you, everybody, for participating. We'll now move on to the next slide. Payroll tax doesn't exist in isolation. It often requires foreign qualification, which means registering your business with the new state's Secretary of State. This process allows your business to legally operate in another state, and it involves appointing a registered agent to handle official communications and compliance documentation within that state. Using a nationwide registered agent provider like Harbor Compliance simplifies this process significantly. We can serve as your registered agent across all 50 states and handle entity filing seamlessly. While routine foreign qualification can still add complexity and ongoing obligations like annual report filings, we can also offload these for you. And since we have experiences with these processes in every state, it allows you to take a proactive approach and anticipate these needs up front. This helps you avoid scrambling between HR, accounting, and legal teams and ensures the requirements are met without disrupting your business. When foreign qualification is completed, businesses often discover that obtaining licenses is the next hurdle. Whether you're in a regulated industry or not, many states require general business licenses for all entities. Legal teams, sometimes with the help from outside counsel, are typically involved in this process, but it's another layer of complexity. With a proactive compliance partner like Harbor Compliance that can help you see these challenges coming, you can integrate licensing into your workflow, saving time and reducing stress. Finally, once tax accounts, entity registration, and licenses are sorted, company records must be updated. This step often requires legal and executive involvement, as they are the teams typically responsible for managing organizational records. You might be wondering how hiring an employee could trigger updates to your corporate records. Under the Corporate Transparency Act, businesses must keep their corporate details up to date with FinCEN through BOI reporting. If a business foreign qualifies in a new state and their name is unavailable, they may need to use a forced assumed name. While this doesn't happen every time, such naming changes can require an updated BOI report. Failing to report these changes promptly can result in penalties. In summary, even basic operations like hiring an employee in a new jurisdiction can quickly snowball and require inputs from across the business. By partnering with the right compliance vendor that can assist you across entity, records, licensing, and tax, you stay ahead of these requirements, reduce stress, and avoid last minute surprises. With the rise of remote work, expanded sales tax obligations, and consolidation activity, it's clear that nearly every organization operates across state lines today. Managing regulatory complexity has become a universal challenge that requires a more strategic approach. It also means fewer and fewer businesses are able to achieve and maintain comprehensive compliance, meaning those that do are truly differentiated versus the competition. Now I have a poll question, another one, about how you are managing these multi-state requirements. So, how are you managing these registrations and licenses across multiple states? Handling it yourself? You have an attorney, accountant, maybe you have a team of employees that are helping out, or spreadsheets. Um, Perhaps you have a registered agent, software, or you're only operating in one state. I will give everybody a few minutes here to add their response. It looks like a pretty even distribution so far. Great. So it looks like just about everybody has answered, and it's pretty even. 30% operating only in one state, 30% have a team that manage, and then the other options at 20% primarily, a few at 10%. Appreciate everybody taking that poll. Great information. So now moving on to renewals and ongoing requirements. Along with annual reports, many states require renewals for licenses, permits, and registered agent services. Staying on top of these requirements ensures your entity remains in good standing and avoids penalties. Next, we'll discuss the renewal processes and ongoing requirements for your business to remain in good standing. Annual reports are Annual reports are one of the most consistent ongoing obligations for business entities. Depending on the state, they're due every year or every other year. These filings update basic business information like addresses, registered agent, and officer or ownership details. They also require filing fees, which vary widely, and deadlines that also differ from state to state. Some of these due dates tie into your formation or a foreign qualification anniversary date, while others use a set calendar date for all entities. Staying on top of annual reports is crucial because missing one can mean late fees, loss of good standing, or even administrative dissolution. Forming your entity is just the first step. In many cases, you'll need business licenses and permits. General business licenses are common at both the state and local level. Certain professions, like engineers, contractors, architects, and healthcare providers, require specialized licensing. And don't overlook tax permits. Even if you don't have a physical address, many states' economic nexus laws can still require registration. On top of that, cities and counties may require zoning permits or health inspections depending on your operations. Most of these licenses renew annually, and missing a renewal can result in penalties or even prevent your business from operating until that license is reinstated, which makes careful tracking essential. While higher interest rates have slowed borrowing for some, mergers and acquisitions remains a dominant growth strategy in many sectors, and compliance plays a critical role in the process. Organizations in good standing have a significant advantage. They can acquire or be acquired without delays or complications. But compliance considerations don't stop there. Post deal steps, like deciding which entities will survive, winding down the subsumed entities, and managing licenses and tax registrations, are crucial for a smooth transition and long term success. Amendments. Amendments are the formal way to update your entity's information with the state. Common examples include changing your business name, which also requires updates with the IRS, your bank, and licensing agencies. Address changes, especially for your registered agent, are critical to ensure you receive state notices and legal documents. Changes in ownership or management often require prompt updates so the state records remain accurate. If your business purpose changes, for example, expanding from consulting to also consulting and selling products, some states or industries may require new licenses or permits. Finally, larger changes like mergers or converting from an LLC to a corporation must be documented with amendment filings. These updates keep your business records aligned with reality, which protects your good standing and avoids conflicts with regulators or business partners. Next, let's discuss the major macroeconomic trends driving regulatory complexity. Compliance is non negotiable. Organizations must follow laws and regulations or risk penalties, losing their right to operate and damaging their reputation. Effective compliance starts with understanding and managing four key areas, which are entity registration, record keeping, licensing, and tax obligations. Let's begin with business registration. This is usually the first step when entering a new state, most commonly as a foreign qualification. But in some cases, it may involve forming a new legal entity depending on the organization structure and goals. Registration occurs with the Secretary of State's office and grants the business legal permission in that jurisdiction. It also reserves the entity's name in the state and grants access to the court system to bring or defend lawsuits. As part of this process, the business must designate a registered agent. This individual or company is responsible for receiving service of process and other time sensitive legal documents. While many organizations appoint registered agents on an as needed basis, this can lead to a patchwork of providers, increasing administrative complexity, cost, and risk of miscommunications. A better approach is to consolidate your registered agent representation with a single provider who meets the requirements across all jurisdictions. Providers like Harbor Compliance are happy to help streamline this for you. Next is tax registration. This involves opening the appropriate tax accounts needed to file returns and pay taxes. For employers, this often means withholding and unemployment tax accounts, while sellers may need sales tax permits. Tax registration becomes necessary when a business establishes nexus, a sufficient physical or economic connection to a state. What's important to remember is that registering with departments of revenue and labor isn't automatic. It requires intentional action by the organization, and because tax forms can be complex, it's best to be proactive. Register before conducting taxable activities like hiring new employees or making sales. Finally, there's business licensing. Obtaining the proper licenses allows an organization to operate legally in a specific location or industry. Licenses may be required at the state or local level and can apply to both businesses and individual employees. With over 150,000 licensing authorities across the United States, there is no universal process for obtaining a license. That's why organizations must take a proactive approach, identify what's required, apply early, and work with legal advisors or service providers as needed. Together, these four areas, entity registration, registered agent appointment, tax registration, and licensing, form the foundation of good standing and ongoing regulatory success. Compliance requirements are rarely isolated, and addressing one often uncovers others. For instance, hiring an employee may require a state payroll tax ID, which in many states cannot be obtained without registering the legal entity with the Secretary of State. Similarly, applying for a license often demands proof of existing compliance, such as the Secretary of State registration, tax registration, and other filings, depending on factors like the entity's name, ownership structure, or industry. Many organizations initially focus on resolving the issue in front of them, unaware of the additional requirements that lie beneath the surface, much like the hidden mass of an iceberg. A disconnected approach can create inefficiencies and create risk, highlighting the need for integrated compliance management. To stay in good standing, organizations must maintain all of their Secretary of State tax and licensing obligations and be prepared to develop or adopt a solution that supports these interconnected regulatory requirements. Let's take a moment to review some recent state level updates, starting with New Mexico. As of December 9th, New Mexico launched a new unified online filing system. All business transactions must now go through this portal. With this launch, the legacy corporations and services system has been fully discontinued and is no longer accessible. For those who had prepaid balances in the old system, refunds were issued to the name and address on file, as those funds did not carry over to the new platform. There are also a few changes to available services. Correspondent filings are no longer accepted, and currently, expedited online filing options are unavailable in the new system. Moving on to Vermont, recently, the Vermont Secretary of State also transitioned to a new online filing system. To use the new portal, users must create a new account if they haven't already done so on or after the date that it went live. These updates highlight the importance of staying on top of state system changes, especially as they impact how filings are submitted and processed. I have one last brief poll question to know where you get your updates on these kinds of changes. So, in terms of these kinds of changes, are you regularly doing proactive research? Do you have an attorney keeping an eye out or an accountant? Industry peers, industry publications, Google Alerts, or no proactive research? We'll give it a few more seconds for everybody to submit their answers. It looks like a pretty even split so far, with 30% using an accountant, 20% doing their own regular proactive research, 30% not doing any proactive research, and a few relying on industry peers, publications, and their attorney. Appreciate everybody participating in that poll. On average, government red tape only increases over time. Another key trend is the increased proliferation of regulatory reporting requirements. A prime example is the new beneficial ownership information reporting requirements brought about by the Corporate Transparency Act that took effect last year. These regulations mandate organizations to disclose their significant ownership details to enhance transparency and accountability. This adds another layer of complexity to an already challenging landscape, reinforcing the need for proactive management. As of March of last year, FinCEN announced an interim final ruling that domestic reporting companies, otherwise known as businesses formed in the United States, are actually no longer required to file BOI reports. For now, only foreign reporting companies are required to file, but FinCEN continues to emphasize the importance of BOI reporting. You can check our latest blog post to learn more about this and keep up to date if anything changes. And finally, why DIY is not the answer. Here are a few drawbacks of taking such a do it yourself approach. So let's admit it, managing government paperwork isn't exactly a passion project for most people. But here's the thing, we love it at Harbor Compliance. Yes, we're those compliance nerds who get excited about filing deadlines and regulatory nuances, and we embrace it wholeheartedly. We know it's not for everyone, and that's okay. We're here to help everyone that can't stand the thought of doing another filing. Too often, this stuff falls on the plates of an overworked admin or a team member who already has a full time job. It can be a little thankless and a lot tedious. But here's the good news, we are on your side, ready to partner with you to lighten the load and make the process more manageable. Dare we say, even enjoyable. We handle the details so your team can get back to the work they actually care about. Accountants and attorneys are rock stars in their fields, whether it's not navigating complex tax strategies or providing invaluable legal counsel. But let's face it, multi state compliance is not exactly their idea of a good time. They'll probably thank you for sparing them the headache of keeping up with regulatory technicalities and letting them focus on what they excel at. And for any accountants or attorneys joining us on today's webinar, first, thanks for being here. If you've ever dreamed of offloading those regulatory tasks to someone you trust, we'd love to chat. We specialize in the nitty gritty so you can stick to what you do and know best and enjoy the process and your job a whole lot more. Procrastinating on compliance may not seem like a big deal until you're right in the middle of a fire drill. These last minute scrambles often occur at the absolute worst times, like right before a major bid or an expansion opportunity. And if something slips through the cracks, the consequences can be severe. Falling out of good standing or facing licensing issues can disrupt operations entirely with costly delays. But it's not just the business that's at risk here. These crises take a toll on your team. The stress of constant firefighting, especially for employees who already wear too many hats, leads to burnout, frustration, and inefficiency. Proactive compliance management isn't just about avoiding business risks, it's about fostering a healthier, more sustainable work environment for your team. And number six, the strategic partnership advantage. Harbor Compliance delivers unmatched expertise in multi state compliance. From purpose built technology to extensive requirements data and proven multi state expertise, we ensure your compliance needs are handled seamlessly. Through our strategic partnerships with accountants and attorneys, we provide a comprehensive strategy covering your full organization. By partnering with compliance experts, your organization can avoid a last minute crisis, maintain smooth operations, and ensure uninterrupted growth. Imagine being able to hire that perfect candidate in any state without hesitation, confidently bid on projects across jurisdictions knowing you'll meet all requirements, and expanding your product offerings to new markets without fear of tax complications. A strategic approach to compliance is not just about avoiding penalties, it's about creating a stable foundation that empowers your business to say yes to opportunities the moment they arise. When compliance is handled proactively, you are free to focus on what matters most, and that is growing your business. Now, in the last few minutes here, we'd like to open the floor for your questions. Please use the Q&A feature to share any queries, and we'll address as many as time permits. If you'd like to learn more about how we can work together to support your organization, please get in touch. And as I mentioned at the start of the presentation, today's session is eligible for continuing education through Earmark. You can use the QR code on your screen now to download the Earmark app. And after the session concludes, we'll email out a 5 question quiz. Once you complete the quiz, you'll receive your CPE certificate. So, any questions? Do you have maps that show where licensing is required for specific industries? We do have such a map for some industries. Is there any industry specifically that you're looking for? The for staffing, I can check on that for you. We do, if not a map, we do have in our information center a state by state list of what states require what, and we also have some different research tools. If you send me an email, or I can send you an email after the call with some of that information, hopefully that will be helpful for you. Does Harbor Compliance offer an API that can be integrated into in-house systems? That's going to be more so on a case-by-case basis. We do have an IT team that I can discuss or ask or refer you to. A lot of it will depend on what the nature of the integration is, the size of, the volume of entries in the software, items like that. It's more of a case by case type deal. How does Harbor Compliance work with payroll providers that already create the tax registrations as new jurisdictions are added? It's a great question. So with our any of our tax related services, they cover the initial registration. So the deliverable of those services is going to be the tax ID numbers that the Department of Revenue or applicable agency within the state will mail to the business. If you already have a payroll provider that is filing those initial payroll tax registrations, where we can step in and help would be all of the surrounding or adjacent requirements, such as the Secretary of State registration or foreign qualification, acting as your registered agent, assisting with annual reports. So you could have your payroll tax provider handle the payroll tax aspect of things, and we can handle all of the surrounding entity or corporate life cycle related requirements. Awesome. So, any other questions here as we um, go through the last few minutes of the webinar? No last minute questions, any burning thoughts, anything at all you want to know about compliance or our services, I'm happy to answer. Well, it looks like we're all set here. So, want to again thank everybody for this for their time this afternoon to take the next step in streamlining your compliance process. Consider scheduling a consultation or taking advantage of our free assessments. Our team is here to help you succeed. That looks like that's all the time we have for today. Thank you again for your time. Have a great rest of your day.